There's a few Rozzi builds floating around currently, but in my opinion, this is the strongest one. What's poppin' everyone? It's your boy Levi, and here's my Season 7 Rozzi guide. I do one of these each season, so if you're not watching this in Season 7, subscribe to make sure you don't miss the next one. The current Rozzi build is a 4-zone crit build starting in factory. As building duplicate item slot meta has been kind of killed off at this point, this build doesn't make use of any items along its path. You'll have a bit of inventory trouble on this build at the beginning, depending on what items you get in what order. Anyways, don't really worry about it. Starting off just like any other guide, you'll want to check the starting zones to see what your most crowded zone is. I've almost never seen Uptown crowded, so you really only have to worry about Factory and Temple. I sometimes start Temple if it's heavily contested, but most of the time you'll start Factory. Now you'll need every slot in your inventory, so you're going to want to place that camera down when you spawn into the game. Just get it out of the way now. You need 2 batteries and 2 glue, which can be hard to find if your distribution is contested, but most of the time, you should get everything you need. You're also going to want to grab lighters and at least 2 alcohol if you can. If there's rocks on your path to the Hyperloop, you should also grab those, but if not, just grab them in Uptown. When you Hyperloop to Uptown, you'll want to combine alcohol and water to make soju, then use it with your bread for rum raisin bread. For your other water, you can just drink it, or you can make boiling water for hot chocolate. Chocolate isn't guaranteed in your zone in Uptown, and it takes longer to go for. So most of the time, I just drink the water and make highball or lemonade. When you got all your items, grab the branches near the Hyperloop. If they're taken, don't go out of your way to find more, just grab them in Temple. Temple is where we start to be able to defend ourselves. In Temple, you'll want to call in iron ore so you can make your weapon. You'll also need 2 paper, so make sure you get an unlooted distribution. I personally like to grab some potatoes on the way out if I'm heading towards the top Hyperloop. This is an extra step and doesn't have to be done though. Most of the time you'll be good with just rum raisin bread. If there are rocks on the way to the Hyperloop, grab them as well, but if not, just grab them in dock. Kill any bats along the way for cameras. And at our final zone, dock. These 4-zone builds finish pretty quickly, so you should easily be done with your build by night 1 if you're on a good pace. Any coffee you can find, you can just drink right away for SP. You're going to get an extra bottle because we only needed 3 of the 4. Combine that with the extra alcohol you've been holding on since the beginning of the game, and a lighter for that 1 alcohol drink that I can never remember the name of. You'll also have an extra rock, so any lighters you find in dock can be used for heated stones and eventually baked potato. And as always, grab any lighters that you see for extra food. And that's it for the early game. Time to start the mid game. Dock bears are yours 99% of the time. The only time they're not is if you're late or if there's a Rio or a crit hedge in there. Those are the only 2 threats you really have in dock unless someone's doing some weird build. Sometimes Isles and Bernice will show up to dock around this time, and they're a pretty good easy kill to grab. After you got the bears, you're going to run to Uptown. I like running up the wide side entrance from dock to get the boar and then run towards the console for the other hunts. Loot the inside of the house for Burgundy and Hermes prep. You'll need a windbreaker, a ribbon, and shoes, as well as leather. If the zone isn't closing, don't worry about grabbing everything. We'll be back here again. Sometimes the Uptown bears will be here, so grab those if they are, and continue towards the Hyperloop. Now you're presented with a few options. If there is a meteorite spawning here in Uptown, you can stay for it. If you get it, use it for Pegasus, and you'll probably be pretty strong. So hang around this area and go to Forest Tree spawning night 2. If you got 1 or 2 kills in dock and all of the hunts, you're also probably pretty strong. You can go alpha, but if there's a Selene there, I'd be hesitant about trying to contest it. It's not really a favorable fight. And if, like me, there's no meteorite here in Uptown, and you don't have any kills, and you got most of the hunts, you can either run through the bottom half of Forest taking the hunts, getting an iron ball, head into Chapel, and then take the top half of the hunts there, and then into Cemetery for the respawning wolves, or you can TP to Factory for the iron ball, take the hunts in the lower half of Chapel, and swing in the Cemetery for the respawning wolves. If there was a meteorite in Chapel, I usually go the Factory way to see if I can pick up a kill on any stragglers that got low. In Factory, you can also make more food if you need, and take the wolves if they're there. Most of the time they won't be though. Because the zone was closing, I opted to TP in the Cemetery to check the wolves right away. But normally, you'll have some time to make your way through Chapel. Clear out any of the hunts in Sem and Chapel. This is also a pretty good place to look for kills because it's pretty easy to control both vision consoles. And there's lots of bushes here. With any luck, you'll find lots of mutant animals, and that'll help you farm for credits. The mid game for Rozzi is all about getting as strong as possible and farming credits for our transitions. Once you clear out the hunts, TP back to dock for your respawning bears. If dock is closed, I usually go to alley. As you can see, I have 30 hunts at this point, and it's likely that you'll either have gotten a ton of credits or have some rare resources from these bears. So let's talk about transitions a little bit. I mentioned that if you get a meteorite, upgrade to Pegasus already. Rozzi has 2 paths per se for transition. You either want to go AP heavy or crit heavy. Mixing them both still works, but it won't be as effective. If you went Pegasus with meteorite and you're contesting tree and forest, either save that tree for force core or hold it if there's lots of crit characters in your lobby. You'll likely run into someone that has Bucephalus, and you can upgrade it to Alexander. Or you can just craft Bucephalus and upgrade it to Alexander. Subsequent meteorites should go towards making a force core. Mithril should either go for Mithril boots or Mithril chest. Myth chest is getting buffed this patch, so I might go towards making that more often now. If you have Pegasus and are on the crit transition path, your force core should go towards Dice of Destiny. This is a really good item regardless of what build path you're on for Rozzi. It gives AP, crit, and cooldown reduction, which are all some of Rozzi's best stats. Subsequent force cores can go towards Hermes and then Kelt. Unlike most other characters in the game, you want to be hesitant about replacing your weapon on Rozzi. It's your primary source of lifesteal besides Vampiric Bloodline Augment. I would only replace it if you have Moonlight Pendant as an accessory or a blood item that gives lifesteal or Omniband. And speaking of blood items, Burgundy is your go-to blood item. The only time I would pass up on this is if you already have Myth Chest or there's some healing regen characters in your lobby. Then I would go Red Shoes for the bonus healing cut to combine with your W Flutter. And as for the other path, if you're going with AP stacking, which I think is a little stronger but harder to get online, with Meteorite you can go Moonlight, but only after you've committed to going the AP heavy transition. Your first Meteorite should always go to Pegasus unless you have a tree and can make force core. With a tree, I would just hold it for force core. There's not many great AP tree items for Rozzi. You should still make Alexander, I guess, if you can. With force core, you should go Halo first if you're still on Crystal Tiara. If you do have a Pegasus or a Myth Helm for whatever reason, then I would go Hermes. Any force cores after that should be for Dice of Destiny, then Auto Arms, then Kelt. As for Mithrils, same argument as before with Myth Boots and Myth Chest. If those slots are already transitioned, then I would go Myth Shield or Myth Quiver. And for blood, it's the same again. Burgundy first, then Red Shoes if you need it. If you get a third blood because you're the luckiest player in existence and you didn't transition your head yet, you can do Opera Mask. Like always, you want the sum of best parts rather than just replacing the same slot. Okay, phew. Now that that's over, let's get back to the game. I want to mention quickly that while you're walking around, make sure you grab any purple crates. I see players skip past purple crates all the time when I play. There is a chance that they can contain raw, rare resources. Oof, say that 3 times fast. So I definitely recommend looting them. If you're ratting, it also gives players one less reason to go to that zone. So if you're behind, collecting them makes your zone a little less appealing to hyperloop into. If you need food ever, blue chests almost always have food in them. After you collected your bears and dock, you have 2 choices. You can either contest Omega if you're feeling strong, or you can call in a force core with the credits. We have the Penny Pincher Augment, so you should be able to afford it even after calling in the Iron Ore at the beginning. When you've got your transitions, I would farm whatever zone you're in for the hunts. I like to sit in Chapel and Cemetery, and use the 2 consoles again to control the vision. When Wick gets close to spawning, you'll want to get there a bit earlier so you can control vision. I have a really good kill angle on Elite Island here, but I hear footsteps behind her, and thanks to my vision, I could see that the 6 kill Eva was chasing her. I dipped out real quick and then got the jump on the Eva. She was fully transitioned, so this was the only real way I was probably going to kill her. Wick did some weird movement and ran into Cemetery despite spawning in Forest. I think the other Eva thought that she would go Forest as well, and then hyperlooped into that zone. Unfortunately, I didn't get to loot the transitions off the fallen Eva before getting pushed off of her, so that Eva got all of the other Eva's transitions. Lovely. Have I told you about how much I love fighting Eva? I don't. I knew that since the Eva had hyperlooped into Forest, and we were the only 2 left, Wick was probably a free take. She would have to run straight to Cemetery to try and contest, but given the amount of transitions that were on the Evas that I killed, I figured she'd be there for a while. I took Wick and transitioned as much as I could. Unfortunately for me, that despite me being in a decent spot, the Eva still hit like a truck. I managed to give her the runaround for a bit, but knew I really only had 1 play. I had to hit her with the old razzle dazzle, the old reliable, the old pop out of the cut with the chopper. Yeah, I gave her the reach around and managed to pick up the win. I know these vids are a lot more exciting when I'm getting 5 and 6 kill pop off, but when I do guides, I want to give y'all a more realistic perspective on what your average game will be like. As you saw, I didn't get any kills until Wick spawned, and that's just how these games turn out sometimes. If this were ranked, a 2 kill win would still be really good LP. Thanks so much for watching if you made it to this point. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're enjoying the Eternal Return content. If you're looking for more ER content to consume, be sure to click the card in the end screen to see my reaction to Eternal Return's newest character, Isaac.